Hey everyone, so I'm going to be bringing you the full spoiler for Conviction today. I know we've got a bunch of different leaks all over the place, and I just want to combine it for us. I apologize for my voice. I'm extremely sick, but I'm still trying to get you guys some content, so uh, here we go. So bear with me. Thanks. Starting us off, we have Shadow Liger. It's a 1-cost unit with 1,000 power. And it says when this card attacks or is attacked, send the top 2 cards of the deck to the discard zone. So a very nice addition to Argent decks for sure. And even to Hoenn decks. I was going to touch on this in an upcoming deck profile based around the new unit that we just got at this past Argent Saga Championship. New Golem unit. So this plays into that. But obviously it fits very nicely into Argent, and I think even in some cases, Hoenn. So very nice start to Conviction. Next we have Ariana's Resolve, which is a 2-cost spell, and it says choose one, but if your champion has Ariana in its name, you may choose both. So the 2 effects on this are search your deck for an Ariana or Ira unit and add it to your hand, or put target Kala unit and or Ariana's Amulet from your discard zone into play. So a very interesting card. Ariana allows you to add Kala and Ariana's Amulet from your deck to your hand at the start of the game, and it doesn't really do anything. So it's kind of cool that ARG is putting champion-specific cards out into the game. So this actually gives you a reason to run Ariana. There are some decent Ira units, and some decent Ariana units, so it's kind of nice, but for 2 cost, you can just play Vabriel's Gift anyway. Obviously, if you're running Ariana, then you would probably play this card because it gets a Kala unit into play for free, and it gets your Ariana's Amulet back into play for free, so you get another card. You get to draw off Ariana's Amulet again, so if you're running Ariana, you're probably running this. Next up, we have Lloyd Cosmic Enigma. It's a 4-cost unit with 2,000 power, and it has an arrive ability that says choose an element and choose one of the following. This card cannot be targeted by spells or abilities of the declared element, or ignore the effects of all towers with the declared element as long as this card is on the field. So a very interesting card. This card's fantastic against control decks. Obviously, this is a fantastic side card for anything Jamail or Jillian. Being able to call blue and not having any of the Mizus or Ancient Serpent's Breath or Phantasmal Storms hit this is really good. And I think control is still very good. We kind of saw it after this recent Argent Saga Championship in Fort Worth. So to have some counter cards for control is really nice, and this is definitely one of the better ones. And then the second effect, actually ignoring the effects of all towers. This could come into play, especially whenever you're trying to poke in for game, and the last towers your opponent has is like the fire tower or the wind tower. You can call that, so they can't bounce Lloyd, and then you can swing in for game. So I'm sure that will come up, but you're going to be using the first effect the most. Moving on, we have Ashborn Conjurer. It's a 3-cost unit with 1,500 power, and it reads, whenever your opponent plays a spell or uses an activated ability, you may put into play a fire elemental token that has 1,000 power with a ruined ability that reads, deal 500 to target unit. So we've seen 2 Ashborn units, and we'll show the other one here shortly. But what they do is anytime your opponent plays something, their effect triggers, and it's not once per turn. So red is one of the weaker colors right now, and it seems they're going in the right direction with these Ashborn cards because they're very good. So I think if you're going to be playing red, the Ashborn Conjurers and the other Ashborn card that we'll look at here are definitely add-ins for sure going forward. But a very nice card. I like it. So next we have Battle Angel of Dominion. It's a 5-cost unit with 2,500 power. And it has an arrive ability that says you may reveal an Argent unit from your hand. If you do, destroy target unit. So pretty strong effect. But other than that, I think you're only going to play it in decks that run a lot of Argent cards, because right now there's not a whole lot being played other than Repper Bloom and Bone Scavenger. But yeah, I think it's a decent card. Maybe it gets a little better in the future, but it's pretty straightforward. So moving on, we've got Grove Elemental. It's a 2-cost unit with 2,000 power, so very beefy. It has an arrive ability that says if you played at least 2 other cards this turn, put the top card of your shard deck into play, and then whenever this card leaves the field, your opponent may destroy one of your shards. So this card was so close to being good. We really don't have ramp in this game yet, and this is the closest we have to it. But the drawback of being able to destroy a shard instead of shard draining is a little bit too much, I think. But if green ends up becoming very aggro, this card could be very good, because at that point you're not going to care if your opponent destroys one card. But with that being said, right now I don't think it's a very good card. Next up, we got Commander of Light. It's a 3-cost unit with 1,500 power, and it reads Exhaust. Recover all units adjacent to this card. They cannot deal damage until the end of the turn. I really don't know when this card would come into play. There's so many other better units to play right now. I think this card's actually pretty bad. Next up, we have Expanding Elemental. It's a 2-cost unit with 1,000 power, and it has an arrive ability that says you may shard drain 1, and if you do, search your deck for an Expanding Elemental and put it into play. So you get another copy of it by shard draining 1. I think it's a little too costly to shard drain 1 just to get a 1,000 power unit on the field, especially whenever you want to get to the later game with blue. So shard draining early for a 1,000 power unit is not something that you're going to want to be doing. So I don't think this card's very good. Moving on, we've got Death Whisperer, which is a 4-cost unit with 2,500 power. It has an arrive ability that reads, you may sacrifice a unit with Ruined, and if you do, its Ruined ability triggers twice. So a very interesting ability. Right now, we don't have a whole lot of good Ruined effects. So I think this card is something that gets better in the future. But right now, we really don't have something that benefits off of this effect. So next up, we've got Tempest Punch. It's a 1-cost spell with Instacast. And it says target attacking unit you control gets plus 2,000 and return it to its owner's hand at the end of the turn. If your champion has Ariana in its name, that unit also can't be targeted by your opponent's spells or abilities this turn. So this card's pretty nuts. I actually really like this card. This card's probably one of the reasons why you would run Ariana, more so than the other card that we reviewed earlier. A 1-cost unit, a 1-cost spell with Instacast to give it plus 2,000 and then also can't be targeted is really good. So there's no reason not to play this in 3s with Ariana. Make sure Kala 3,000. But yeah, you can just run Weenie.deck using this. But very good card. I really like this one. So next up, we've got Ready for War. It's a 6-cost spell with Instacast. And it says reveal the top 5 cards of your deck, put into play as many revealed fire units as possible with cost 3 or less. Send the rest to the discard zone. So very, very powerful effect for sure. 6 cost is pretty hefty, and I'm not quite sure when you're going to get to that. I think the best application for this is probably in a red-blue kind of control variant with the Ashbournes and things of that nature. And then being able to utilize this with Mayu for free, that'd be kind of neat. So your best options for the reveal are obviously things like Juvenile Dragon or Ruka, or even the Ashbourne cards, like on your opponent's turn in response to something. So it does have its applications, but it's a very hefty cost. So I don't know how often it would be played right now. So Maiden of Leviathan is one of the cards that I revealed in my spoilers. It was one of the cards that I got to review, so if you want to go check that out, you can. And then same thing with Ashbourne Shaman. This was another card I reviewed, and also a very strong Ashbourne card, just like the one we reviewed previously. Now we have Isa the Cloud Mender. It's a 2-cost unit with 1,000 power, and it has a ruined ability that reads: you may equip this card to target unit you control. While equipped to another unit, treat it as an augment. If a unit equipped with this card would be destroyed, you remove all damage from that unit and destroy this card instead. So it's essentially like a Gigath. This card is okay. It's not bad. I think it's a fantastic target for Iton's ability if you have another unit on the field. Especially like maybe a Queen of the Sandsea where you don't want it to be destroyed because then your opponent gets their monster back. So that's a decent target, but you need another unit on the field whenever you use Iton's ability with this because you'll miss the timing. If you try and bring out a 3-cost by sacrificing this and then trying to equip it. But it's a decent card, for sure. So I kind of like this one. Next, we've got Vi, Matron of Miracles. It's a 3-cost unit with 1,500 power, and it reads: expel any number of gear from your discard zone. Target unit you control with cost X or less cannot be targeted by spells or abilities this turn. If it's exhausted, recover it. So very interesting. One thing to note is if you do not expel any gears, you can target a token. So this obviously works pretty well with Repperbloom decks, especially in Liam Kite. It's a very interesting ability, though. It could be a late-game finisher. I think it's kind of niche, but it might see some play. It's got a unique ability, and being able to have your, Repperbloom tokens essentially be untargeted by spells or abilities, and then being able to recover, so get 2 attacks in. It's kind of nice. Moving on, we've got Dance of Blades. It's a 1-cost spell with instacast, and it reads: deal 500 to target unit, and if this destroys it, put into play a Knight token with 1,500 power. So pretty strong effect. Obviously, hitting a Phantasmal Guards is your best option, but it can also be kind of a little finisher. Whenever you've dealt a decent amount of damage to your opponent and you just need to finish them off with that 500, to get a light token is kind of nice. So I don't know how much it's going to be played, but it's not a terrible card. You can get some value out of it in some certain areas. Next, we have Shard Spider. It's a 3-cost unit with 1,500 power, and it reads: if you have more destroyed towers than your opponent, and they control more units than you, this card costs 3 less to play, so it's essentially free. And it has an arrive ability that reads: exhaust target unit your opponent controls. It does not recover during your opponent's next charge phase. So very cool effect there. Being able to be brought out for free is something very nice, and then its ability is also very good. So this is a very nice card. I think it's one of the better cards in this expansion set. Next, we have Jacoby the Vampire King. It's a 4-cost unit with 2,500 power, and it reads: sacrifice this card. Put target unit from your opponent's discard zone that was put there from the field this turn into play under your control. So very situational, but its effect is pretty good. If you can destroy like your opponent's Iskandar or a Mayu or something like that by Corona sharding it and then sacrificing this to put it onto your field, is pretty nuts. So in those instances, it's very nice and good. But overall, for the unit that you're trying to take control of, needing to be on the field that turn and then also destroy that turn, it seems pretty situational. So I don't think this card would be played very often. So something to note before we move into the last 2 new cards is we do get 5 new full art cards of cards that are already in the game. So I just wanted to touch on those as well because it's kind of a cool little thing that ARG threw in here. So one of them's Delayed Poison, which is really nice. Skytree Command Center, very solid augment for air. And I know someone who's really going to like this being full art. Longinus to go with the full art caliber that we already have. Tidal Rush, it's kind of a neat full art. And then my favorite, which is Roa Wyvern Rider. This full art just looks amazing. So cool that ARG did that. But you also get those in this expansion if you buy it as well. And then our last two cards actually are the two legendaries in this expansion. The first one we have Yuri, Direwolf of the Garden, which is a 4-cost unit with 2,500 power. It's a legendary beast, so you can only run one of it. It has the Brawler ability, and it also has an arrival ability that says if you destroyed an opponent's tower this turn, search your deck or discard zone for True King's Greatsword and equip it to this card. So 4-cost 2,500 Brawler is very nice. And then the arrive ability to grab the Augment is also a very good ability and makes him a real threat. So let's take a look at the Augment. So the Augment is True King's Greatsword, which is a 4-cost gear. It says equip to target unit, and the equipped unit gets plus 500. Whenever the equipped card destroys a unit in battle, place 2 counters on this card. Remove a counter from this card, deal 1,000 to target unit, or remove 2 counters from this card and deal 1,000 to target face-up tower. So this card can get really out of control. You can have an unlimited amount of counters on it and then just deal damage. So your opponent can't really play anything. It's a nice little combo. I don't know where you'd play it. I think Argent is nice because you don't mind milling the Greatsword. And the Brawler ability is nice in Argent as well to try and go after, Bone Scavenger and stuff like that. And then obviously I think in Liam decks it's very nice as well because the gear also counts towards Iskandar. So if this is in the discard zone, it also counts for the reduced cost for Iskandar. So that's something to note. But that's all the cards in this expansion, guys. I think there's some good ones in here, and I think there's some lackluster ones, but that's what you get with any of these sets, right? So let me know what you think in the comment section below. And again, I'm sorry for the voice, but I hope you enjoyed the video. Like, comment, subscribe. Zeppelin out.